Alrighty, in this video, I am breaking down the whole business model. All right, you want to be a sim? You want to make $1 million online? No fluff, no LARP, real stuff. Well, you're in the right place. You should be thankful that I'm sitting down and making this long video. I was writing this down in my journal, trying to think of content ideas. I'm like, I've just written down the entire business model that's made me $1 million online. When has anybody ever got on a Miro board that's empty, an empty Miro board, a ghosty Miro board, and just started spizzing and leaking the whole thing? Oh, well, why would you leak it if you don't want to saturate your market? There are clients for everybody. I have too many. I stopped working with clients because I had to fire my VA. I can't answer DMs anymore. I'm now the coach. All right. I'm not LARPing Claudebot on TikTok or new model updates. I've been in the trenches, traveling like a hoe. All right. And I guess you could call me the Play-Doh of systems, the allegory of the automation. But I had a divine thought come to me, and we're cooking in this video. Okay. So none of this is going to be LARP. None of this is BS. None of this is not already done on a business, not some small business, like businesses that are doing at least minimum $50,000. All right. So if you want backstory on me, this isn't going to be the video. There's tons of lore. You're just going to have to tune in. All right. So I'm breaking down the entire systems integrator model now. All right. So let's go. All right. So first, our goal as you adopt the archetype of the systems integrator subconsciously, or purpose, not goal. The purpose is that you help teams turn chaos into clarity with automated operating systems. This is the one-liner. You are helping teams turn what was once, okay, so you help ideal client teams, which we'll get into, turn current state chaos into desired reality, clarity, with the mechanism that helps you achieve it. An automated operating system, which is not a conglomerate of buzzwords. Your clients will have an existing operating system. The only thing is it'll be in chaos because it is not automated. All right. So we're not just coming up with buzzwords. We are building and helping them build this operating system that they're currently running on by automating it. Okay. And this is not just a 1 week thing. It's not just a template you copy. I don't even use templates. Okay. So this is the purpose. All right. To get that out, to start out with that. Okay. So that's your purpose. Maybe I'll share this after. You're going to pay. You got to join my OnlyFans. Okay. So that's the purpose. And next is going to be your ICP, which we go over inside of my program too, of identifying and validating your ICP. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty broad ICP, ideal client profile, for the noobs out there. And this is going to be service providers, and even better, internet service providers. No, they're not selling it the internet. They are service providers who operate their operations on the internet. It's important that you say no. You learn how to say no. You say no to people that are not internet service providers. Okay? Why? Because can you automate putting shingles on a roof? No, we'll get into it. Okay. So another thing is that they need to be doing at least, let's see here. Where's the dash? The squiggly dash. There you go. Okay, they need to be doing at least $50,000 per month. Oh, well, Preston, I don't make anywhere near that. Who's going to trust me around their automated operating system? Bruh. This is the only way you're going to learn. It's the only way you're going to be able to charge what's worth it and build the systems that you can build. We're not working, once again, we're also not working with solopreneurs. Okay, so they need to be making a minimum of $50K a month, and put this in your qualification form. And they need at least 3 team members that are operating within the company. 5 is even better. But then they'll be used to having people on payroll. Other people are better than the CEO at different stuff, right? So if you're running a successful business, ideally you're not doing everything. And that's the point why you would need to start automating stuff, is because you're scaling. You are bringing on more team members, and you can even afford to pay your team members, and you can even afford to invest into improving the work that they do. All right. So this is your ICP. You can define it even further once I get into the service offerings. Internet service providers, $50K per month, 3 team members. Next is going to be your first goal. What is your first goal going to be as a sim? All right. Your first goal is going to be to get a case study, not a testimonial. Okay. The difference. Let me make sure it's recording too. Yes, it is. There's a difference between a testimonial, which is just a video, or a text. Thank you so much. You helped me so much. And a lot of these guys fake testimonials or pay for them or get their buddies to make them. We're talking about a well-documented case study. All right. Where were they before? What problems were they facing? What were their current KPIs within the business? We'll get into that they were that they had before working with you. What did you do when you worked with them? What problems did you end up solving? And what was the result of it? Okay, it needs to be a well-documented case study. So that's going to be your first goal. And why? Because with this service that you're going to be learning, the end goal is, and let me make sure I'm zoomed in for you guys. I don't want to not zoom in. Okay, so the end goal is going to be, see here, and none of this is AI generated bullshit. All right, so is to turn the case study into a productized, done with you service offering in that niche. Okay, so although your ICP is broad at first, not very broad, internet service providers, the goal, because you don't want to be doing bespoke work with every client that you work with, is to successfully get a case study and then turn the systems and processes that you built, as well as that your client went through, into something that doesn't require you anymore fully. And then you can scale this and turn it from a quarter, which we'll get into, a 12-month, or not 12-month, 12-week, 3-month service, into unlimited tennies. All right. So that's your end goal. And what's going to happen with this service offering that we'll get into, all the different ways you can offer the service, as well as what the service delivery looks like. The downsell, all right, so ideally as a systems integrator, you should have like 4 ways of making money, which we'll get into 3 of them. And the downsell is going to be when your client is not a good fit for your service, or when they're finished with the service, which we'll go over. And then you would like to retain them in your ecosystem. And so the downsell is going to be white labeled software slash CRM, which is high level. Okay, I know this isn't a high level promotion video. This is not a high level system. I'm saying that if you have high level, which is solving a problem for your client of having a CRM, then the majority of agency owners, their downsell is they have a white labeled Go High Level account that they charge 97 or 197 a month plus their snapshot. And then all their clients that finish their service, they downsell them into adopt our software. And then they're using their software after the service. Okay. So that is your downsell. All right. And this is anywhere from, as we said, 97. This is, you don't even want to be touching this ideally. You maybe have like one guy that is in charge of this to 197 a month, but it's going to build MRR and it's going to allow you to have a downsell and to adopt the archetype of, oh, I'm someone who has a software company. All right. And then the upsell for this offer is going to be, or we don't even call this upsell, we call this ascension. What is the ascension mechanism? Okay. The ascension is going to be placement of an ops analyst or a VA or continual services, which you'll get into. It'll be like quarterly services that you'll commit to, or a year-long contract. That would be amazing. Imagine you do well in the first quarter, you get a year-long contract afterwards. So continual services, we'll get into that, is it'll be different parts of the business that you're going to be automating, or if there's no more parts, maintenance of those systems, all right, which would then be like a placement of an ops analyst. And so this is, once again, like a quarterly guarantee or a yearly guarantee, etc. So this is how you can do ascension on top of. So there's your three offers. So the first offer, which we'll be going into, is the middle offer, the main offer. The downsell is pretty much DIY, white labeled version of high level. The ascension is a placement of an ops analyst or continual services of what we'll go over for the main offer. Okay, so hopefully you guys are taking notes, and this is going to be embedded in your subconscious behavior moving forward. So what we're going to do here as well is the communication channel for clients and client work and teamwork is going to be a Slack channel. No, my client said he doesn't want to pay $7 a month for the Slack. Get a new client. You shouldn't have taken that client on anyways. And the majority of clients you work with already have Slack, which is perfect because they can add the stakeholders from the project as well inside of it. So the way you're going to be communicating with your clients is you're not giving out your personal phone number. We're doing Slack channel. We're doing Loom videos. All right. Loom videos and Google Docs. Google, baby. And we'll get into this. This is really all you need, man. Slack, Loom, and Google Docs for the communications. All right. And then you're going to be having meetings. So if you're not a person who can collaborate with people, you can't do this business model. All right. If you're not somebody as well that can show up and have conversations with your clients and work together, this is not for you. Okay. So what we're going to do for meetings is Google Calendar. And we are going to also use Zoom, the paid version, and we're going to record all of the Zoom calls. It's very important for the offboarding and training we'll get into. And then we'll do Fireflies AI or Fathom, whatever you want. Ideally, yes, the paid version too. Once again, important because some of your deliverables are the fact that they get access to the recordings from the meetings that you have with them. All right. So you're going to be doing meetings. The status of level of professionalism is going to be pretty high. Okay. So for clients like this, you're going to need to maintain compliance. All right. So if you're digging inside of some ghosty data, you're working with some billionaires that come from Chinese TikTok, you're going to have to sign NDAs. You're not going to be able to go flex your revenue screenshots and projects on TikTok. All right. You're going to be signing non-competes. And if you're working with a big client, they'll already have these and they'll make you sign them. And then tax forms. All right. So your clients should be giving you tax forms for the end of the year. You're going to be looking at some sensitive data. So you're going to need to be signing non-competes. And if you don't have these, or your client doesn't have these, having these already or within your contract, which another one, service agreement, because one automation and there goes your rented Lambo, right? One AI agent that says something racist and there goes your life. Okay. So, we're going to be compliant. This is a very compliant business model. You cannot be turning them into N8N templates and yapping on YouTube about them. And that's how a lot of these guys don't do what they say they do, because they wouldn't be able to yap about them. All right. Or put them on N8N as templates. So the next thing is the stakeholders involved in this project that you're doing in this offer are going to be the client / the CEO, any C-level executives. So these are people that are going to be either attending the meetings or inside the Slack channel. You. And then if you have a CSM, a client success manager, or a systems integrator, virtual assistant, ideally, once you start getting a lot of clients, you're going to want to outsource the communication between you and the client. So, the stakeholders might be brought into some of the meetings, which we'll be going over with the clients as you're building their automated operating system. So next is going to be the time to complete per client. We're going to have 12 hours of calls. Okay. You're going to within 3 months. And we can get this number down from the 3-month projects if you start scaling. 12 hours of calls within the 3 months of the projects, and then an additional 13 hours, and you can get this down to of work outs of what you call done for you work. Okay, so it's not much work. It's more brains involved in what we're going to be walking through. And then the capacity of the amount of clients that you can take on as a systems integrator. And keep in mind, we're going to go over pricing and everything too, is I'd say around 5 clients per team member in your company, including you, per quarter. All right, which, as you'll get into with the pricing, that'll be a minimum of to start out until you start hiring people, $50K. And I don't want to overwhelm you with too many clients. You got your head in too many businesses. Trust me, $50K per quarter. That's right, $200K a year without the ascension or the descension minimum. So yeah, if you want to make a mill, you're going to have to hire people later, but starting out, you don't want to hire anybody. All right. So this is everything involved in understanding like the basis of the systems integrator model. All right. Next, we're going to be going into the style of work. So you're going to have a few different choices. Obviously, a business, you might be overwhelmed with like a $50,000 business. There are multiple processes in the business. This isn't as simple as, oh, you build a, N8N template and you ditch, oh, 12,000 for N8N template or blah, blah, blah. No, you're going to be getting into the grit of the business. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. All right, so you got multiple parts of the business, and I'm going to be ranking them as towards what you should go for as a systems integrator. So you have client intake with internet service providers. So this is a big part of the business, guys. All right, and then I want to make this thick. We want her thick. Nice. All right, so you got client intake that you could focus an entire quarter on, right? So these are all subsets of the business, which makes up the entire operating system that might be non-existent. So you got client intake or client onboarding process. You have the hiring process for a company. You've got the, let's see here, project management / fulfillment process of an online service provider. And this is amazing too, because you'll get to see businesses that are better than you and see all their processes of how they run, 100K a month business, because you'll be dissecting these parts of their company because they don't have the time to. All right. Then you have customer support. All right. Then you have sales, which you can break down into two different sales. So you could say inbound sales process, or then you have outbound sales process. And the operators out there, now that I'm like breaking it up like this, you understand how many things go into each one of these, and you can't be an expert in all of them as a systems integrator or an operator. Okay. Then you have media buying / advertising or / marketing. All right. So these are the subsets of a business that we were discussing, where you're turning chaos into clarity. Now, to think that you can do all of these with a singular template, no way. Nor can you do all of these within one project. Trust me. I've worked with clients where it took a year to get through a lot of this stuff. So, and I'm also going to be doing in this video examples of like scenario of X client comes in, here's their setup, here's what we do. All right. So these are the parts of the business. Now let's rank them in terms of, would I start automating their business, or would I even automate their business? All right. So we're actually going to do 4 of these. We're going to say easy. When I say easy, I don't mean too easy. Medium, and I've been doing this, guys, for 3 years. Hard. And no, like I just wouldn't even touch them. All right. That's what we're going to do. So first, client intake. This is going under easy. And I'm going to be explaining the entire fulfillment process too when you get a client. But ideally, you're identifying through the sales process which subset of the business you're going to be focusing on. So if it's client onboarding or client intake for an internet service provider, this is going to be the best thing that you can first do with helping clients. Hiring process. Okay, so hiring process is going to be a yes, but it's going to be hard, right? You can imagine if you're a beginner, you understand the basics of being a customer yourself of things, like what an intake process should look like. And also in our group, we already have systemized all of these. But for hiring, right, you got like LinkedIn, you got all these different websites people are using. You want to be a master at hiring, right? You have documentation that needs to be filled out. You have appointments. You have paperwork that goes into a hiring process. So to be a systems integrator and focus on hiring process, I would not recommend it unless you're somehow like already working in hiring or HR. Then we have project management / fulfillment. This is going under medium, and I love this kind of work. I genuinely, in my heart, love project management and fulfillment because it's super orderly and you can automate the entire process of delegating tasks and documentation to necessary team members. So that's going to be under medium. You got customer support. This is going to go under hard. And this is because, one, it's risky. If you're building the messaging, that's going to need obviously then be approved by the entire team and everything. That's like literally when clients are upset, where they go, how things are handled, and to be responsible for that is a lot. There's a lot of liability and compliance being involved somehow in handling of customers. I know a lot of people, we'll just give them a phone calling AI agent. If you're working with ISPs making $50K a month, charging what I'm going to show you, $10,000 to $12,000 a project, you're not just installing a potentially prompt injected customer support bot. That's where you downsell like into, hey, we have a support AI system on our software. If you want to sign up for our software, you do it yourself. But to make an entire business model out of customer support, no, I would not touch this. All right. And it sounds appealing. Oh, customer support, but you don't understand. There's also SaaS solutions that already solve for this. I know a lot of 7-8 figure agency owners that are using that one tool, Help Desk, which is connected to Slack, connected to their emails. It's managing everything. All right. So I wouldn't touch it. Then we have inbound sales process. All right. I would put this under hard, but I would say the other ones are harder. So I would probably touch inbound sales process first if I was focusing on this subset in someone's business. And like we said, the goal is to get a case study. So then what you'll see with this process, you'll take this and try and scale it up. So whatever, you're going to be ended up scaling up one of these systems later on. So if you don't have sales team experience and you don't have sales messaging and high ticket closing experience, and you don't understand the KPIs that go into measuring whether or not you've successfully benefited a sales process, like are the conversion rates up, are the click-through rates up, are the what's the closing rate, you're going to be you have to be a sales leader to do this. You got to be someone that even talks to the sales team and the whole sales team believes in you. You're not just, oh, here's this customer AI agent, conversational AI. Like I said, boom, here's our software. You just set it up yourself. It's already built. But to know when prices need to change, when messaging on a landing page needs to be switched, when bump orders need to be applied, when call recordings from sales teams, like you're going to run into so many issues. Like a sales team isn't going to have a high close rate. It's not even going to be your fault. It's a sales leader's fault. But so I just would say this is very difficult unless you have experience already through your company and setting up your own inbound sales process and mastering it. I wouldn't touch it. Then we have outbound sales process. I'm putting this under no, because ideally this means the client you're probably working with lied to you anyways about their revenue if they don't have a reliable way that they're already getting clients. And a lot of times they'll be like, I need this AI system that you need to set up and it's going to scrape all these emails and then it's going to get us appointments on our calendar. No, Okay. Are you a sales expert? Why aren't you a millionaire yet if you're a systems integrator that's an outbound sales expert? There's so much data scraping that goes into outbound sales process, messaging, copywriting, deliverability. Once again, the offer price, the click through rate, the sales team, right? So, unless you're, which you wouldn't, yeah, if you were like a cold email expert, you wouldn't be doing this business model. Okay. This is for ops guys, this is for dolphins. Okay. Then we have media and marketing, media buying and marketing. I would put this under no as well because of the fact that, yeah, are you an ads expert? Okay. Are you, why don't you make viral content? If you're able to somehow automate, once again, you're not just taking VO3 AI N8N workflow and then making somebody viral on TikTok or Instagram. Okay. So I would not at all, and when I say you don't want to be in these areas, when you are in these areas, any questions about this stuff, you don't even want to be a part of. This isn't your, I'm not a sales expert. I'm not a hiring expert. I'm a client onboarding and fulfillment systems person. All right. So I don't even want to be a part of these conversations. All right. So yeah, you don't want to be a part of these conversations. These are separate things. Ideally, you're going to be someone who builds sales teams. Go do that. You want to be a Facebook ads expert. Go do an SMMA. But what I'm talking about is I would put this right here instead. So what do you see? Ideally, you want to be targeting internet service providers with chaos within their intake of clients, which means they have a lot of clients coming in, which means they'll have no problem paying and point to pay to touch, point whatever when they first sign up. Buyer's remorse is the highest. So you want to increase the experience and organization of client files. There you go. And AI is not doing all this for you too. Wait till you see what I'm going to show you. All right. So project management, Asana, setting up automated, taking their SOPs, creating a checklist of what the team's supposed to do when a client's onboarded and finishes their call. Boom, the entire team gets everything necessary. Then something gets moved to a certain status of done. Then a Slack notification goes off. Boom. I'm telling you, client intake, onboarding, and project management, these two are like right after another. This is the bread and butter, guys. This is months of work. You could do a year of work with a company, a year contract with just these two. So that's what I'm saying with the subset of the business that you as a systems integrator, with your goal to get a case study, to then turn the case study into a productized offer and then scale the productized offer up. Now, what do you notice about all of these subsets of the business, which are important and nobody mentions them when they LARP, is the fact that each subset has its own KPIs, key performing indicators, such data to recognize the ROI justification, the return on investment that justifies using your service or system. Justification. Okay. Yeah. To recognize the ROI justification and impact of said work. So, like I said, client intake, time to onboard. That's a KPI right there. You have show rate for onboarding calls. You have all the different KPIs that say, yeah, okay, so when you're talking to a client, potential client, what is your current KPIs for your client intake process? All right, so now you have a goal with your service and the systems you're building of our goal is to improve the show up rate for the onboarding calls. Our goal is to improve the feedback rating from the intake calls. The goal is to improve the amount of documents completed from said client, or project management, time to finish a project, completion rate of project, drop-off rate of clients, clients stuck under a certain status, show rate for client calls, completion rate for client stuff. So just like sales process, there's going to be KPIs there too. Customer support, There's a whole set of KPIs. So you can't just go, hey, I'm going to automate your business with N8N workflows. Okay. Like, no, you watched a TikTok. I'm not stupid. All right. You're a scammer. So this is important so far. Now let's go over the service delivery itself. All right. So the service is going to be price for a quarter. So each of these you can break down. It's going to take a quarter, entire 3-month process, which we'll go over. And then you can go ascend to another process that will help you with, or we can manage and automate and continue to not automate, and we continue to manage and revise this process by placing somebody in the business. But the price of this service is going to be $12,000 if, okay, you're providing 2 options to the client, if they pay in monthly installments. So that's $4,000 a month. Or, and what does this do? This gives the client not just it's 10K, and they say yes or no, awkward silence. It's 12,000. It's usually $12,000, $4,000 per month. But we usually have clients that would prefer to pay in full and save additional costs. And this helps us allocate resources that are necessary prior to the engagement starting. Or 10,000 PIF, payment in full, right? So this gives them the option of which should I buy, not should I buy, all right? 12K, 4K a month, or 10K PIF for the 3-month engagement, or that's a quarter inside of a business. You want to keep it professional. All right, so that is going to be the price of this service. And I can't charge, I thought I couldn't charge $500. It's all perception. Okay. I've charged less and clients didn't show up. They didn't care. You can say the same price, change it. The market tells you what to charge. So I used to charge like 3K and I was working for 3 months. That's nothing. These companies, that's why I said they got to be making at least 50K a month. The more that they're making, if you're building all these automations and systems and helping them train them on how they work, that's like a whole team member. A whole team member costs like 75K a year minimum in their company. So this is to say, this is like the beginner pricing. I've charged way more than this. People inside our group are charging way more than this. So this is just a start. And that's why I said 5 clients per quarter per team member, 50K minimum per month, but then you have your upsells and your downsells, right? So now we'll go into the quarter. All right, so this is the quarter. And then we're going to have different phases of the quarter. One, 2, 3, and 4. And this is going to be their current reality and their desired reality, from chaos to clarity. All right. Then we have what happens in each stage and what are the stages. So stage 1 is document/discovery. So when you take on a client, the first stage is going to be document their systems and processes and initial discovery and intake, like your own intake onboarding process. And this is going to be like an audit. All right. And this is going to be where you go over, and they should have these if they are an established business, their standard operating procedures, which are the instructions or directions that they take in order to do some type of process. All right. So let's say that this is, you're helping a online coach with client onboarding. Well, they better have client onboarding SOPs. And if they don't, in the first stage, this is what you're going to help them do. You're going to help them build SOPs. That's what they're paying you for. But ideally, the best clients already have this stuff. Then they also probably should have process maps. So they should have systems like we're doing here of the flow of the structure of the business. You'd be surprised. A lot of companies, it's the best. When a client comes to me, I'm like, you already have SOPs. You already have your systems all mapped out. There's just no integration. All right. Then this is like where they have assets too. You're auditing the assets that they have, which are usually like dashboards, intake forms, right? So an intake form is different than a standard operating procedure. What are the assets involved in the process that we just discussed? Is it onboarding? Is it project management? What type of project management assets do you have? What type of onboarding assets do you have? Onboarding calendar. So that could be one, like they have an onboarding calendar and you're going over their onboarding calendar, their onboarding form, their onboarding Airtable database, right? Everything's going to be scattered. So, yeah, you're going to be auditing that. And then finally, one of the most important things is you're auditing the tools. If you're not doing this before the sale, you're going to literally be documenting all of the tools, third-party softwares that they use, because those are going to be involved in one, technological processes the client does to perform the service or to onboard the client, Google Drive, Gmail, Calendly, and that's going to be involved in the structure of the automations that you build in order to help them achieve their desired result. So you're going to need to know like the API keys for these tools and stuff. Or when you're using Zapier or Make.com, you're going to need to know the tools that you're working with and the possibilities that there are within what happens on Calendly. Let's say there's like 5 triggers. So call canceled, call whatever. Those are all initial systems. Ideally, you're going to have like 5 to 20 different automations within this entire project. And each one is going to have a trigger and an action that it can perform or trigger into a workflow. And you're going to need to know all of the random possibilities of systems you could build. So tools, software tools is important. Okay, so that's what you're going to do in the audit, which is the first part of the service, is you're going to be auditing their standard operating procedures, the process maps that they have, the internal assets that they have, and the tools that they use. This should take 2 to 4 weeks. All right. So we're also going to go over like how can you shorten this? All right. But if you're really need, or your team member is going to really need to understand their business. So you're not just sitting there waiting. You're like going in and you're looking and you're researching and you're understanding how everything in the business works. It's the most important part. All right. Then phase 2, and this is even more important. This is going to be in the future a do it yourself. So there's, as you'll find out, there's services that are do it yourself, like a course. There's done with you, like coaching, and there's done for you, like we'll just do all this for you and set it up. So you can break your service down into different fulfillment types. So the goal should be that through getting your first case study, you understand the best way to go about having your client provide you a list of the tools they use, a list of their assets that they have, a list of their SOPs, and that it's like a part of their intake rather than you as a consultant figuring it out and helping them. So the goal should be that this becomes, or even starts as, which we have an asset. We'll talk about that. You can build an asset for yourself that supports this whole process that your clients get access to when they sign up with your service. So document and discovery, this should be a DIY. All right. Then we have stage 2. All right. Stage 2 is going to be research. All right. So now that you have and have a good understanding of their systems, processes, assets, and software tools, and maybe even their existing workflows, now you can do research on what is the best system that I can build to support this workflow without changing it, but just streamlining it. So, ideally, this would involve you using something like Claude, or like I said, you got to be compliant. So, you can't just be copying and pasting their systems into Claude. You might need a local LLM, which we go over too. But ideally, using some type of AI if you're not fully versed, but you should be before on, all right, we have this amount of tools and these processes. Where can I build the integrations necessary to move this forward? You're also going to be looking at some tools aren't going to have like a trigger in them. So if somebody, maybe they don't use Calendly, they use something else, and you go on zapiermake.com, you're like, oh my gosh, there's no trigger that makes this easy. Well, you're going to have to use AI and understand API documentation where it'll show you there's nothing you can't do as long as they have an API. So you might have to read some API docs, some API documentation. Then you have like Zapier/make/N8N template, not ones that you go and find. I'm talking about you make them yourself. So you're looking at the process, the systems, the tools, the existing workflows, and you're building it like a skeleton of the system that you're going to set up, but you don't fully connect it and test it yet. Then you have team calls. So now that you understand the systems and processes, you're able to meet with the stakeholders and hold weekly meetings where you ask them questions through like the skeletons that you're building to be able to like, hey, because you might talk to the CEO on the onboarding call, but like I said, they might have a director of client management, something like that. Well, you're gonna have to speak to this person. So recommend weekly calls during this research process so that you can do further research and dive into more information that will allow you to know what you need to help them achieve the desired result. And so from there, that is everything under the research stage. And so the research stage, this can be, I know I wrote it down below there, but ideally this is, let's see here, about 2 weeks as well. 2 to 3 weeks. And this is really important that you're also like using Slack to communicate the questions you have and the research that you're documenting as well. So you document their systems and processes, you get access to all of them, and then you do research that is necessary in order to understand the tools that you can build within their existing processes that will help them achieve the desired result. Okay, next is going to be build and document. All right, so now that you've done these stages, and it's like month 2 or month 2.5, you can now start building the workflows, and you can start creating Loom videos overviewing the systems. You can build, not you can, you should build Google Docs with hyperlinks to the Looms of the systems built. And you can, once again, do team calls to go over the systems that you're building and any changes in structure or workflow that is involved. So this is often where, you already know everything that's going on in the business. You're like, how do you guys not already have this workflow automated, which I'll show you. We're going to do examples of clients. And you're now actually building, taking the skeletons and applying them to the business, and you're documenting, because what you'll see with the handoff, this is right here, the onboarding process that you have with your clients. And then the desired result, you're not just going to kick them to the curb. You have the offboarding, where you have documentation that you have from the recordings. Once again, we said these calls are recorded and transcribed with AI. Those are going to be going into, with the Google Docs and the Loom videos, into the offboarding asset. All right. And then building and documenting, this should take around 4 weeks. So a whole month. All right. And then you have finally the training and testing. Okay. Or we should say testing and training. So this is where, once again, you're doing calls with the stakeholders and with the documentation that you've created, and you're teaching them how the systems that you've built work with their existing workflow. And what you'll do is you'll go like step by step within each workflow, testing each step and monitoring the output from the team member's side. So, hey, we've already set up the whole automated fulfillment process. When I click this button, meaning a client has been onboarded, does the Monday.com structure flow correctly? Awesome. So this is going to happen every time now. Okay. So boom, you're going through, and you can ideally, we were talking about do it yourself, done for you. The research phase is done with you. So as we described with the team calls, that's what makes it done with you. There's also in the discovery, like I said, onboarding. It's like an onboarding call that you're obviously going to want to have. Hopefully that's self-explanatory. Build and document. This is the done for you part. This is why they're, hiring you as an expert for what you're having another team member do. So done for you. And then the testing and training is now done with you. But like I said, if you do this well, you get your first case study, then you have Looms, you have Google Docs, you have recordings and transcriptions from all the team calls. You could turn your testing and training process into a DIY, but that's where we get really advanced. All right. And so, you're going through and you're training them, and then you're also building the offboarding documentation. So let's imagine you have like 10 workflows that you've built that streamline the entire onboarding process for an online health coach. You have a document with Loom videos on it, each automation, the link to the automation, how the automation works. You also have links to each team call and the recordings, and boom, we're now giving you this system that runs independently inside of your business. And that's where the ascension and descension comes in, to where like, would you like to now focus the next quarter on your fulfillment process? Yes. Awesome. Well, what about if we sign a year contract, or maybe they're just good? Well, would you like for us to manage this process within our Slack channel that we have every single month? All right, $4K a month. You got a VA in there, a systems integrator, and you're monitoring the KPIs. All right, and you're also getting a case study. Right, so during the testing and training at the very end, you get a case study. So this is ideally like a client interview, and maybe you're asking for referrals. All right, so that'll help you get credibility as you get your case study, and then you go to offboarding. All right, so, or you go to ascension or descension into, okay, awesome, we've set all this stuff up. Here's, I know this entire process, we didn't even touch a CRM. So we have a CRM, boom. send them to high level. If you want to focus on the other part of the business, you focus on the other part of the business. All right. But this is all one quarter. So document, discovery, research, build and document, test and train. Now, as we said, that's why this costs $10,000 payment in full. You think this is cheap? No. You think you can't charge that? Bruh, you're a slave if you're doing this. All what I just wrote down for free or for a couple $1,000s. No way. You're a sim. All right. Now, what happens as well during this process that is, because all these are like theoretical, oh, like you're going to be doing this, but you also need something to support, just like you're helping people with their project management. You need something to support this whole process, just like they have assets to onboard their clients and manage their clients. You also have to have assets, which I give you inside of our group, llmacademy.com, that go through this process. So what happens throughout this process is that you, prior to onboarding, you have like a sales call, right? So that's your sales call, which is recorded as well. You should be recording your calls, showing up with a suit. And you also have like a sales form too. So then you sell that client and then they start their onboarding process. And they have an onboarding form and an onboarding call where you collect information, as we were talking about the process you're going to be automating and the required things that you need. Then you're going to have those weekly, like what I would call scaling sessions throughout this process after the onboarding form and call. And then, and they're all recorded again. Then you have the training sessions. And then you have the offboarding documentation and process. All right, so these are the things that support it outside of your brain working and you clicking buttons. And this is what holds it together, right? So you can imagine during the offboarding process, when you're doing your case study, it'd be good to, have the recording from the initial sales call, which also the onboarding person shouldn't be re-asking all the questions that were asked on a sales call. So the information from the sales call should be passed to you or the person doing the onboarding call in combination with the intake information. Then this is used from the discovery process to the testing and training process to do the weekly calls where you're working on the systems and building the systems out with the client. And then that should also go into the training session where you train them and the team on the systems that you've built with the documentation that you have from all the recordings and all the Loom videos and all the systems that you've built, hyperlinked into a Google Doc, and then offboarding documentation or process. We could get into like what happens if a client, doesn't do something, doesn't give you information. I have all these assets regarding like kicking a client out, giving a client an ultimatum, all this. But this is the process that I've used for the last 3 years to help businesses. And as you now know, with the end goal, let's imagine you have a client comes through in a certain niche as an internet service provider. You do this process and you end up with all this documentation, 15 systems, 10 tools that they've already been using that work really well, an entire structure that's proven. Well, now it'd be stupid to re-go through this whole process again in another niche with another business, rather than taking everything that you have and building what we built, automated OS Canvas, some type of your own tool, your own Google Sheet, your own SOP process of which becomes do it yourself. We already have the entire system. It's a set it up and forget it. So the client then goes through and starts doing what used to be like creative work for you, which is already proven now. So none of this, as you can see, the only thing AI mentioned was helping you find room for the integrations. Some of the workflows you build might include AI, but a lot of times they don't. So this is not some AI grift. This is business operations 101. This is being a valuable person that companies need, that they're paying tens of thousands of dollars for. So let's now go through a few examples. All right, so number one, let's say you give me a company that does low ticket subscription for a health coaching business. All right, I'd immediately probably focus on the onboarding process. This is hands off subscriptions for a coaching program, like a community. I would identify that what are you using for billing? Okay, you're using Stripe. Do you have any automation set up in Stripe? No. Okay, what happens the second somebody makes a purchase? Do they receive an automated email? Oh, okay, they do. Let's look at this email. Oh, within this email, you don't have an intake form? Oh, it's somewhere else? All right, there goes one documentation, what we're gonna fix. Oh, you don't have a welcome video that your client receives within the email the second that they sign up? Okay, well, you probably make a welcome video. All right, so then they click on, let's say we integrated the intake form. All right, well, what happens when this intake form is filled out? Oh, it unlocks a certain course for them inside of the group. Or, oh, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't move them into a status inside of your project management workflow. All right, well, now we need to do that. So now we've identified that, or let's say onboarding call 2. So they use Calendly for an onboarding call. They use Gmail for client communications and emails. They use Stripe for payments. They use Google Forms for intake. They use Asana for project management. It's 5 tools. Each tool itself has multiple different triggers and actions within it that are already happening. They're just not automated inside of somebody's process. Well, there you go. That's the 3-month engagement, is going through as a customer into this subscription health coaching business, identifying the SOPs, the assets, the tools, the existing workflows that they have, and then doing the necessary research of, okay, what can we do in Calendly? What's even possible? Okay, what does their onboarding email look like, etc. To then building the automation, which is simple. It doesn't include a bunch of AI. It could be 2 steps, 3 steps. They don't know. They don't care. All right, and then you finish one of the plug and play systems out of the 5 I just explained in this process, and you record a Loom video going over them, and you create the asset that explains each system that you're building. You're getting on calls, you're refining these systems, and then you're training the team on the new systems. You're releasing them with the documentation, the recordings from the calls, everything. All right, so that's example 1. Say number 2 is a business that provides artwork banners. This is a client I had one time for small businesses. So they have a creative process of applying logos of files to their service delivery team, who then prints these out. Okay, well, what happens when somebody, once again, buys? How do they upload their logo? All right, well, they upload it here. Well, that's not optimized. Well, let's say it was optimized. Where does that logo go? Show me your Google Drive files. Oh, your Google Drive files have no naming convention. They're a mess. There's no way that somebody gets notified with a URL that opens it right away when this happens. Okay, so your Google Drive's a mess. All right. So where now, once this file happens, what is a team member doing to make sure this gets on the banner that gets printed out? Oh, there's a Monday board, but the Monday board has no automations in it. Okay, well, right there, through some research, I can identify that when a new file comes in, we need to go into, let's say, Google Drive, automation, first step, new file, rename file, create folder, move file into folder. These are all easy things. No code, it's no code, right? There's just no one to identify this. And then, get shared URL link after it creates the file and it moves it. After get shared URL link, create a Asana project with the name of the file and link the file in it and link the link to it in it. Okay, well, that's more than they had before. That's saving minutes. That's saving a ton. That's just one workflow. All right. But without properly understanding their assets, their SOPs, talking to the team, their existing workflows they might have, you'd have no idea. You'd be stuck trying to give them some complicated system that doesn't fit, that no one uses. Literally. And you don't want to do that. You want me to turn you off of doing something you saw on TikTok? Wait till you get sued, or wait till you get a dispute. Wait till you have clients that aren't happy. You're on to the next one. You can't pay your rent. And hey, our team's not using the system you built and it has errors in it. Good luck. All right. So, number 3 would be like high ticket marketing agency. So, a high ticket marketing agency comes through. Let's say, once again, there's so many things like, are your onboarding calls recorded? Oh, they are. What happens to recordings? They don't automatically go into a folder. All right, well, that needs to happen. They don't automatically go into Asana once they're done being recorded. You use Fireflies for client calls, but then they don't automatically get sent to Slack. Oh, you don't use Slack, you use Teams? Okay, so there you go. There's another automation. Fireflies AI to Teams. You're not just selling one automation. You're taking the whole subset of the business, understanding it, and then doing research, producing skeletons, and then applying them to the business, recording the work that you've done, and then training them on it. And this is why you can't find this on Fiverr. Because if you want to go on Fiverr, you can hire an N8N guy, but you can't hire an ops expert. You can't hire a communicator with your team. All right? This is multiple skill sets in one. And you're going to be looked to as the person who can, once again, help teams turn chaos into clarity with automated operating systems. All right, guys. So that is it. I know I couldn't fit a bunch in this video, but this came to me in a vision. I'm a time traveler. Google. Sim. All right. But this is everything you need to know. And if you don't know, like I said, I've been doing this for 3 years. And what did I do? I've documented with Loom videos, assets, SOPs, everything that I've been doing, everything that works. I already have a whole framework for the whole service delivery process in this beautiful Google sheet where the clients are already doing some of this stuff, but I'm doing some of its stuff too. Not all of it's on YouTube. None of it's on TikTok. I've recorded over 300 private Loom videos, and they weren't all nice lighting. They were like in the trenches. And I've been building my school community for the last 3 years, literally. It's been started before Hermosi even came to school, building it out. And we also have an expert systems integrator, not a VA, a guy in our group who did this. Another thing, you can do this without becoming an entrepreneur. You can do this by, if you already have a good job inside of your company and you're in ops systems, work for a startup. If you become this guy, you become a C-level team member in 12 months. And that's exactly what happened. He like 2.5 his income at his job by saying, screw this, I'm not going to go find my ICP and do this. He instead did it inside of his own company. His name is Josh, and he got a raise. And now he's built like hundreds of systems, automations, and SOPs and documentation, and his company knows what's going on. All right. So the link will be down below or in the bio for my OnlyFans. All right. Where I publish all my spicy content. And you can join us in there. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is, like I said, not LARP. This is like my life. This is not like an existing business model you find on TikTok. I started off with high level and then it came to this. So as I said too, you get the downsell with high level, which I'll be going more into later. And then you get the upsells. So there's the whole business model. Go make some money and just let money come to you. All right. Bye.